because 99.99% of animal suffering is in the food system from industrialized, large-scale animal agriculture. That's where the vast majority, and not just vast majority, that's almost where all, statistically speaking, 99.99% of animal suffering. And then we also live in a society that if you're not working every single minute of the day, that you're somehow lazy or something like that. And therefore we're not spending quality time with our families, our pets, leisure time, being, reflective and introspective and doing more things that are good for our heart. Ask you to list your favorite athlete or your favorite musician or your favorite artist or your favorite anything that's kind of in a role model category. You probably already have your answer. Like, oh yeah, I love so-and-so as an athlete. It's fantastic. Or this actor or TV personality is brilliant. I look up to this person. Or my favorite YouTuber or podcast host is so-and-so. Man, I wish I could be like them. When I would go sell my friend in the auction to be turned into food, like, man, that wasn't right. And so that's what we call the social cost of being vegan. That it comes with a social cost. Right. Of the 99% of us who eat animals. As vegans, we're less than 1% globally. We might be 2 or 3% in a certain country, up to 5% in another country. But globally, we're less than 1% of the 8+ billion people. And think about how many animals. No judgment, but like big, burly, steroid-using guys that I think they're going to come like make fun of us. And they're like, hey guys, just wanted to tell you, I got a daughter or a son who's vegan, and I'm there to support him, so I'm doing it too. And it's like, man, this is really cool. That you don't expect that sometimes, especially like in the Midwest, flyover states in the United States, in the heartland, in agriculture country.
Welcome back to the Plant Fuel Podcast with me, your host and vegan nutritionist, Callum Weir. Get ready to deep dive into the heart of veganism with a returning guest who needs no introduction, Robert Cheeke. Known to many as the godfather of bodybuilding, best-selling author of The Plant-Based Athlete and a multitude of other books. And if you haven't caught up with our previous conversation with Robert, do yourself a favour and check out episode 8, where we explored breaking habits and fueling mindset. But now, in this newest instalment, we're diving even deeper into the realm of the impactful vegan. This episode promises to be even more impactful. In this latest installment, Robert takes us on a journey of vegan altruism, sharing insights on how each one of us can make a significant impact and drive positive change in the world. Drawing from his own farming background and experiences, he sheds light on the power of vegan strong tactics, how it's helping shift eating patterns, and the importance of voting with our dollar to create a more compassionate future. But this conversation goes beyond activism. It's about tapping into the profound sense of fulfillment that comes from doing good without expecting anything in return. Robert's wisdom and passion are palpable, and he shares his vision for a better world, and we even get a sneak peek into what Robert has in store next, and trust me, it's unlike anything he's done before. So join us as we welcome back Robert Cheeke for another thought-provoking episode of the Plant Fuel Podcast. Get ready to be inspired, challenged, and empowered to make a difference in the world, one plant-based choice at a time. Before we jump into this impactful conversation, I want to extend my deepest gratitude to you, our listeners. For your unwavering support and dedication, your passion fuels my mission to advocate for a more compassionate world, one episode at a time. If you enjoyed today's discussion, please consider sharing it with a friend or leaving a review or rating on your preferred platform. Your feedback helps us reach more people and spread the message of compassion far and wide. So prepare to be impacted by one of the most impactful vegans around, Robert Cheeke. Let's dive in. Robert, welcome back. How have you been? It's been a while.
Thank you, Callum. It's good to be here. It has been a little while since I think the last book launch. So here I am again with another book launch. But yeah, things are going well. A little bit stressful as the nature of trying to release a new book, but in general, things are going very, very well. And thank you for having me back.
That's no worries at all. I think for the listeners who don't know who you are, or they're new to you, or they haven't listened to the past episode of the podcast, I think we should probably do kind of a little recap on who you are. So who is Robert Cheeke?
Yeah, I'll tell them, go listen to the other interview and then come back to this one. Get some more views that way. No, so that's actually a very interesting question. Who is Robert Cheeke? I kind of want to have like this philosophical answer before I just, go back to, when I became vegan and why and what I've done since then. But let me just think on this for just a second here. Let me linger for a moment. Who is Robert Cheeke? I think Robert Cheeke is someone who is altruistic in nature and always has been, and has wanted to make a difference in the world, but not in a cliche way, but like literally cares about making a difference in the world. And that's, now I'll go back to first person. That's what drove me to want to write this new book, The Impactful Vegan. But for those who are wondering about my real background, I grew up on a farm and raised farm animals, sold farm animals, had farm animals as pets. I spent 20 years on a farm raising dairy calves, raising chickens, goats, rabbits, horses, all kinds of animals. And it was in my teenage years, 15 years old, back in the late 1900s, 1995 to be exact, when I decided to become vegan for the animals. My older sister was a big influence on me. She became vegan and inspired me to follow in her footsteps, to no longer contribute to the animal suffering that we were doing on the farm we grew up on, and to live a more compassionate lifestyle. And I was a little bit concerned because I was a 5-sport athlete in high school. I was a pretty good athlete. I was small. I was a long distance runner. I wasn't very big, but I was worried about my athletic performance. This was before the internet was a thing that we had at home. Most of us didn't have computers either. And so not a lot of places to look. I couldn't ask Google or Siri or anybody else. I'd have to look at some books or some resources that were available, or listen to my peers and my role models at the time. And so I decided to become vegan for the animals. And despite my concerns about how it would impact my athletic performance in a negative way, I embraced it and just allowed things to take place and see what would happen. And sure enough, fast forward a little bit into the story, I had a very successful 5-sport high school athlete career, and then went on to run cross country, long distance running in college. So I was a pretty good runner. And then I really wanted to do something drastically different. I wanted to make a statement as a vegan athlete for animals, that I could build my body without the need for animal protein. And I think it was well understood that anybody could be a pretty good runner on carbohydrate fuel, which is what most runners fuel themselves with, a high plant-based diet, and potatoes and pasta and bread and fruits and vegetables and things that are very well known to provide lots of energy for long distance athlete. But it was building muscle and getting enough protein that nobody said you could do. That was the biggest obstacle, and it is 3 decades later in 2024. Can you believe it? People still have this mind-blowing barrier, this obstacle that you can't get enough protein on a plant-based diet. Are you kidding me? And so I set out to show that I could. And so I did. I went on to become a weightlifter, and then I discovered the sport of bodybuilding. I became a champion vegan bodybuilder. I filmed a documentary about it. I wrote 4 books about it. I toured to 5 continents about it. I've been on a speaking tour for 20 years. I added 100 pounds. That must be 40 something kilos. I added whatever that math comes out to be. What is that? 40. Yeah, I don't know. That's a lot of kilos. But I added 100 pounds to my frame, from 120 pounds to 220 pounds, built a lot of muscle as a vegan over the years, and used my story, that transformation from skinny farm kid to champion vegan bodybuilder, to be the message that I would take into a speaking tour, into the books that I would write, and to the work that I would do, which led me to become what I call an impactful vegan, which is basically someone who leads by positive example and makes a significant impact on the reduction of animal suffering on a global scale, which is what I've been able to do over the course of my work for the last 30 years.
That's amazing. And I think if it's quick math, I think, is this now your 29th year of being vegan?
Yes, it is. Yeah. 29th year.
So yeah, but last 29th year, that's incredible. So I think last time you were on, it was 2022, and you said you were working on something new, but you could not give anything away. But here we are, 2024, and we've got 1 month to the official release date, and we actually have the Impactful Vegan.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's such a wonderful book. I know you've read it or you've read parts of it, and you've said you've enjoyed it. It's the best work that I've ever done, in my opinion. I think that will be the opinion of many. At least I'm hoping so. That it truly is the most meaningful, effective, and impactful writing that I've ever done. And it comes out June 25th, mostly in North America, but I'm sure it's accessible around the globe through different websites and such, where you can access it and get it shipped if one's willing to pay for that, or get a digital version or an audio version or something like that. But it's a book that is designed to change the world for animals and designed to reduce animal suffering on a large scale, because it's data-driven, evidence-based approach to doing so. That is the culmination of interviewing 40 experts in the animal rights or vegan movements or communities and extracting their knowledge and putting that into this work, along with my experience and observations over the last 3 decades and the work of my colleagues and friends and role models and what I've observed and what I've read and what I've applied over the years. And so I'm super excited to bring out the best book that I've ever released. And here we are, right on the doorstep of when it comes out. So it's a very exciting time.
That's the thing, was like when you said it was like the best book you've ever written, I saw that the other day, and I was like, oh, it can't beat The Plant-Based Athlete, because that was incredible. However, after reading and delving into it, I'm like, it's just unreal. It's so, as you said as well, it is very data driven as well. So you have all the facts and the figures there. At the same time, you've got your story, you've got like different ways to make such a giant impact in the world, like different ways that anybody can kind of like, from, you know, having no money at all to having like a lot of money, using those different resources that you have to create an impact that's better for, you know, the world, the animals, the environment, just the movement in general.
Yeah, absolutely. I come from a perspective that, you know, with the privilege that I have a moral obligation to make the lives of others better, using whatever skills, talents, resources, other strengths, network, generosity, volunteering. That's the strong V. Using all of those things, or my time, or financial resources, or my connections, my relationships that I have with others, to help improve the lives of others and give others a better opportunity to see a life well lived. Because we all, regardless of species, we all desire to live a life free of fear, pain, and suffering. That's pretty easily understood. But there's a lot of things that I think we're not aware of that we can do to improve the lives of others. And that's why I wanted to really distill this down into very palatable, concrete, approachable, applicable actions that we can take to help make animal lives better. And so that's what I set out to do. And hopefully I did my job well. And hopefully this book is altruistic in nature and will make a difference. It'll raise awareness. It'll raise funds for the most effective animal charities in the world. It will show readers how to best utilize their own unique skills and talents to make decisions that basically answer the question, what actions can I take that will maximize the flourishing of other individuals or reduce their suffering in the most significant ways? And really, in a lot of ways, that comes down to, how do my actions influence those who currently contribute to animal suffering? Those omnivores among us, our friends, our family, our coworkers, our relatives, our those we come at the general public at large. How can I, through using my best example and the most effective approach, how can I have a positive impact on them where they change their course of action and put something else on the end of their fork or on their plate, which changes and disrupts the supply chain in our food system and makes the world a bit more compassionate for animals and those we share it with. And that's really what I'm trying to do here.
Yeah, I think as well, like obviously so when I delved into this book, and of course, obviously don't want to ruin it for any of the listeners who are, gonna like dive in, and there is various topics, and there was 3 to 4 that really stood out to me. Because obviously I wasn't too sure what to expect when I picked up the book. However, as you just said, effective altruism is definitely what stood out to me, because I don't think many people, think that, them doing anything or doing something off their own back really is going to change anything. But also that just the concept in general, especially when you put it towards our vegan efforts, it's just something that I think we're all doing, but don't realize we're doing it at the same time. Especially when it comes to that, the effective altruism, because obviously myself, being on social media and talking about nutrition in the plant-based world, I would say is probably or this podcast as well, giving people the information is probably my way of, effective altruism. And obviously yours with your books and your resource and everything, and just kind of giving back exactly what you've been given as well.
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a moment. So effective altruism might be new to some people, and that is basically doing the most good for others and reducing the most amount of suffering, making the biggest impact. It's not doing some good or a little bit better. It's all about doing the most good. How do we maximize our impact? Right? Basically, it's how much suffering can we reduce per minute spent or per dollar spent or some unit of measurement, right? What kind of return can we get on reducing suffering from the investment that we put forth? And so what I created was I coined this term effective vegan altruism, because effective altruism is largely, as you know, and many people probably know, some won't, it's about how to most effectively reduce global poverty, reduce suffering in humans around the globe, especially in the poorest places in the world. How do we most effectively reduce human suffering? And that's things like providing anti-malaria, mosquito nets in sub-Saharan Africa to help prevent the death of huge amounts of people. It's about getting clean water so 1 million people don't die every year from diarrhea, from contaminated water in the developing world where people don't have access to clean water. It's about preventing blindness, especially in the developing world, where there's very common eye diseases where hundreds of thousands or millions of people go blind, and it's using financial resources to prevent blindness and help flourishing for those individuals for the next 60 years of their life, rather than having to be blind or completely or very visually impaired, if not fully blind, for the rest of their lives. It's that kind of thing that effective altruism focuses on. So just to be really clear, effective altruism does not do things like donate to museums or theater or art or whatever. And the very somewhat obvious reasons for that, largely those are not life and death situations. And those typically only affluent people benefit from a brand new wing in the art museum. Look what I get to enjoy now with my luxury vehicle. I get to drive there, and all this beautiful work on the wall, where other people are literally living in a hut made out of mud and not knowing where their next meal is going to be, where 1 billion people go to bed hungry at night. It's making that distinction that if you're going to do good, you might as well do the most good you possibly can. So it's being very diplomatic about where you donate your time and resources and all of that. Do you give to disaster relief funds, or do you give to organizations that are trying to find cures for cancer or whatever? Or do we give educational tools to those who don't have access to it, or healthcare to those who don't have access to it by the millions or even by the billions in the developing world, and really prevent large numbers of deaths. And so what I did was I learned about effective altruism from Peter Singer and William McCaskill and Nick Cooney and some popular authors in this space. And I thought, man, here are these individuals who are saving so many human lives, sparing human lives, improving human lives, raising hundreds of millions of dollars to give to the best charities, not the ones that are just the most popular or the ones that get the most press or the ones that are on TV or the radio or whatever, or rounding up at the grocery store or whatever, but the ones that actually have been scrutinized and determined to be the most effective through detailed levels of evaluation and scrutiny. And so what I wanted to do was take these effective altruism principles of doing the most good and apply that to helping animals, which means that it's going to go toward helping farmed animals, because 99.99% of animal suffering is in the food system from industrialized large-scale animal agriculture. That's where the vast majority, I'm not just vast majority, that's almost where all, statistically speaking, 99.99% of animal suffering takes place there, not in circuses or rodeos or bullfighting or even things like cosmetics or leather or animal testing or other areas that fur, wool, whatever. Those are all bad and unfortunate things, but they don't even compare to the scale of suffering for the animals that are raised for food in industrialized factory farms. And many of these industries, leather, for example, are kind of byproducts in many ways of the food system in the first place. And so I wrote a book about reducing animal suffering in the most effective ways, targeting the animals that suffer to the greatest degree and in the largest numbers. That's why there's a hen on the cover. There's a chicken on the cover of the book. We had lots of versions. We had a cow on the cover, which was a beautiful cover, white and green with this cow and all this. We had some beautiful covers, but it takes 150 to 200 individual chickens, individual lives, to create the same edible meat as you'd get from one cow, right? So even if we use the lowest number there, 150, it's still 150 to 1 as far as individual suffering that chickens endure on that kind of a scale, 65 billion annually globally that are killed and raised, slaughtered, killed for human consumption. And so I think I've put forth a lot of really interesting ideas and actionable steps that people can take to reduce animal suffering in the greatest ways. And I shine light on the organizations and animal charity groups that are the most effective globally. And I think that's going to steer a lot of people's attention to, the next time, I'm just looking around, as we speak, I'm looking around my basement here. I have a television I barely ever watch, right? I've got this extra lamp or this ring light over here I'm not using. I've got a few tables over there. I've got a bunch of extra things that I never even use. And perhaps I could have spent those resources investing into or contributing to the organizations that are going to do the most to help animals. So I have more clothes than I know what to do with. They're just stacked up around here. Did I really need to buy that new jacket or that new shirt or that new pair of pants when I know for even $1 I could have spared the lives of 3 baby chicks, 3 chickens, but I didn't do it because I wanted a pair of pants that just sits on the floor and never gets worn. So I talk about that too in the book, about priorities and decision-making and habit changing. And I'm not saying live an uncomfortable life, even though most of us in the developed world, we make more money in 2 months than 85% of the global population will make in a whole year, based on real stats and data of annual income for us as a global society, maybe there's something better I could do with my resources, and perhaps I have some sort of moral obligation to do so, given the privilege that I have. And I think it's important to acknowledge that, acknowledge the privileges that we have in the Western world and in the developed world, and that I have more food in my house than I could eat probably in a year. Things that are stored in the pantry and the garage and cupboards, 2 freezers I have at home to have extra, plant-based burgers, burritos, whatever. Where there are people, as I mentioned, who don't even know where their next meal is going to be. 1 billion people, in fact. And that's just human suffering. Now look at the behavior and eating habits of the 99% of us who eat animals. As vegans, we're less than 1% globally. We might be 2 or 3% in a certain country, up to 5% in another country, but globally we're less than 1% of the 8+ billion people. And think about how many animals are being raised to feed those individuals. So I talk a lot about, or write a lot about, priorities, about consequences of our actions, consequences of our inactions, and how to best improve the world, or at least improve the lives of animals that simply want to live and let live. And yet we're just raising them for the sole purpose of consuming them, especially when they're all young. They're all babies, essentially, every animal at the time of their slaughter. And I figured it was time for a book like this. It was time to address effective altruism dedicated just toward helping animals. And I thought I was in a good position to do that as someone who's been an effective altruist my entire life, even though I didn't know there was a term for that. I was always working on improving the lives of others throughout my entire life. And I'm very honored to be able to write a book of this nature. And I think it's going to leave a lasting impact and have an indelible mark on society. And that's why I'm working so hard to get the word out.
I think as well. So obviously, I think when it comes to obviously people wanting to do good, people always want to do good no matter what it is. But I also think obviously it could be hard for people, and obviously in the society we live in, because people have biases towards things, and people what's the word for it? We're living in a society where obviously we're afraid of what people think. And there's always an essence of what people will think. And obviously, especially us as vegans, we're saving more than 300 animals per year as just an average person. But yet there's the biggest bias towards us as well. And I think that's one thing that can obviously put people off trying to do their best, is they're scared of what that community, their friends, their family can think. And I think if you can just kind of look past that and just look at the bigger picture, not care what people think about you, that's a way we can start doing more good.
Yeah, it's easier said than done. Ego is a difficult thing to overcome. And I know that not just from the bodybuilding industry or being someone who's on tour for 20 years and around a lot of famous or influential people. I mean, including just in the last few days, I was around various celebrities or influential people and all that. But even if we don't have that background, we all have individual ego, which we do care about how we're perceived. We do care about the labels that we identify with, the communities that we associate with. And part of that, we talk about that in the book. Paul Shapiro from the Better Meat Company, he had some great words about that we all have this desire to fit in with our peer group and also to kind of ascend in that peer group. We want to be well respected. We want to be well appreciated. We want to be welcomed. We want to be understood. We want to be seen and heard and all of that. And that's how we base a lot of our decisions on what we decide to do, because we want the acceptance of our peers, or else it's very isolating to feel left out, or to feel like you're the odd one out, or that people are laughing at you or making fun of you or judging you, or or whatever assessment they're having of you. And so that's what we call the social cost of being vegan. That it comes with a social cost, right? You wear vegan across your chest, on your back, on tattoo, whatever. You're going to be judged by people around you, and sometimes not so favorably. I wrote about, that we sometimes literally wear that on our sleeves. Like we wear veganism on our sleeves, like literally, like you can just read it right there. And so there's a social cost, and that's what I believe, and I think evidence suggests that leads to high levels of vegan recidivism. Dr. Michael Clapper talked about that in the book, right? He had some good words about that people simply, they just get tired of being judged all the time. They get tired of being left out. They get tired of being, always the center of attention of controversy. And I know my wife deals with that. Like her boss always brings up, oh, Karen's the vegan one, and at group get-togethers or team meetings or whatever, which then obviously usually leads to all kinds of questions. So I could never do that, and why would you want to blah blah blah, and don't you get enough protein, or don't you want to healthy and blah blah. Oh, but she didn't ask for any of that. And then if she goes and sees her family, oh yeah, even though many of them have all kinds of different religions they subscribe to, and competing religions and all this kind of stuff, and very dogmatic and all this about those ideologies, she's still kind of singled out because she's the vegan one, and she eats differently and lives differently, and she needs to have special requirements and all that. That I know that wears on her a little bit, just as it can wear on me with my farming family and having to deal with that when I go back home, or that many of us have to deal with our coworkers, our friends, our peer group, whatever that is. And that leads to people saying, you know what, maybe this isn't for me. I'm going to go back to eating animals. Even if they don't want to eat animals, they might even have a moral objection to it. But the societal desire to fit in, the social cost sometimes is a burden too great that supersedes their moral perspective that they hold. And that's a very unfortunate thing. And so in the book, we even talk about, as I'm sure you came across, because it's one of the earlier chapters, I don't know who's read the whole book and who hasn't, but we talk about like vegan mentoring and coaching and social communities and things like that to help people stay, not just go vegan, but stay vegan for a long time. And I think that's a helpful thing in the book too. It's not just, it's kind of common to say like, okay, what's your why? Tell me your why. Why are you vegan? Well, there's only one reason. For the animals is really the only, if you're vegan for the environment, for health, those aren't really, that's not about making a moral or taking a moral position against unnecessary animal suffering and exploitation. It's something else, right? It's my personal health, or for the planet at large, or whatever. There's really one real reason to be vegan, based on the ethics that are tied into the definition of veganism in the first place. But I think even though we determine our why and we identify our why, it's also our habits that we cultivate and nurture and follow throughout our lives that might dictate our actions even more than our why, right? Like I can tell you why I started lifting weights in the beginning. That may have nothing to do with why I still go to the gym today. It's because these habits that have been developed for years and years and years, I just go and do it because it's part of my routine. I don't think about my why. I don't remember, oh yeah, I'm here to get big and strong, and this is going to attract, this type of attention, and going to do that. Like that doesn't enter my mind because the habits are already there. And so I even call that the forks over knives effect in the book. I give it different titles of habit change being so fundamentally important to the impact that you're going to have on a day-to-day basis, whether you're conscious of it or not. Like, your actions have consequences every single day, every single action. And you cultivate these positive actions, these habits that determine who you are, the sum of your actions as an individual. Then you don't have to think about why I'm doing this every single day, or defend your position or whatever, because it just becomes who you are, and it will carry you through even difficult times where you start to, like, resent the lifestyle or the label, or feel like you're getting picked on, or feel that you're unfairly judged or whatever. And just to add one more thing, by the way, it's not all just negative associations, with veganism. There's so many wonderful and positive things. I mean, I was at Venice Gold's gym yesterday, the most famous gym in the world, and I was recognized by all kinds of people there as a vegan athlete, as a vegan bodybuilder. People recognize me, where there's lots of celebrities around the gym and such, but I got recognized as well because of that vegan stuff. I get opportunities to speak. I've been to 5 continents now. I've been speaking in Australia and China and the UK and South America and the Caribbean and all over Canada, United States, and elsewhere, because I'm vegan, right? I got my book translated into 9 languages worldwide because vegan gave me, that a positive association. And so I'm just speaking to sometimes the struggles that we have, as you mentioned with this topic, with the social cost of veganism that can have an adverse effect on some people's psyche and alter their behavior to not be in line with their moral ethics. And I'm just trying to find all kinds of ways to prevent that, which I lay out as the case for being an impactful vegan.
I think, yeah, but it's like, also you're leading by example as well, and like when people see people leading by example, that can create really good habit change as well. But those habits, that people will see these kind of habits and they'll be like, oh, maybe I can do a bit better. And it's also having those conversations with people that really aren't on the same page with you as well, because you've got to have people that are always going to push back. But if you can at least jump on the same page as them and just have like a conversation without the the yelling or the aggression, that there is a lot of in our own community where, like, obviously there's people that clash with obviously the omnivorous folk, so when that clash happens, it kind of pushes them further away. And I think it's upsetting, because I think, like, if we can get our point across and we can help people to kind of understand why we do it, and we can also lead by example, show that there's even like small habits over time can make a bigger impact. That's such a good way of doing it as well. It is just leading by example for a lot of people.
Yeah, you're right. And it sounds so simple, doesn't it? I use that expression a lot, leading by example, or sometimes I say leading by positive example. I was actually reading the book yesterday for like the 20th time. I really enjoy it. I was on a flight from Los Angeles to Denver, and I was kind of tired. I'd spent 3 hours in the gym and not a lot of sleep, a long day the day before at a vegan conference all day. And I thought maybe I'll nap on the plane. And it was an evening flight too. And so I'm like, well, I got to turn the light on above and maybe annoy people around me, but I'm going to do it anyway. And so I did. And I read my book for 2 hours during that flight. And I noticed myself using that expression a lot: leading by example, leading by positive example, setting example, carving out a path for others to follow. One thing is because we know that it works. I mean, look at the social media world. All these people that want to be entrepreneurs, right? Or influencers or whatever, because they see other people doing it. They say, I want to be like them. I want to be a business guru. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to build a company. I want to build a brand, or I want to get sponsored by companies. I want people to send me free stuff. I want attention. I want likes. I want hearts. I want comments. I want to feel important. I want to feel valued. I want to be seen. I want to be heard. And I need significance because I'm a human being, and that's what I require. And so We know that. I mean, if I asked you, even though I don't know you very well, we've talked a few times, but I could ask you like to list your favorite athlete or your favorite musician or your favorite artist or your favorite anything that's kind of in a role model category. You'd probably already have your answer. Like, oh yeah, I love so-and-so as an athlete. It's fantastic. Or this actor or TV personality is brilliant. I really look up to this person. Or my favorite YouTuber is or podcast host is so and so. Man, I wish I could be like them. Like you already have your answers.
Oh yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Right. And
Yeah.
so we can be the answer for a lot of people. Like that's what I mean. You can be the answer for your neighbor who's trying to overcome a health issue and wants to learn more about plant-based eating to prevent this certain issue. You could be the answer for someone who wants to prolong their life and embrace longevity, and they've heard that a plant-based diet is synonymous with that. It's actually studies show it's the best thing for a long, healthy life, lowest rates of early mortality, and all this kind of stuff. We could be the answer for those who want to build their bodies in a compassionate way without consuming animals or contributing to large-scale industrialized factory farming and massive animal suffering. We can be that answer by being healthy and fit, or we can be even the answer for someone who's kind of struggling and feels a little bit down and discouraged and all that by being like a ray of sunlight for them and leading by positive example. I'm sure there's a reason why you think of who you think of when I asked you to come up with your favorite role models in different areas of sports and art and music and business and in the social media world, perhaps, or YouTube, podcasting, or whatever. There's something about those individuals that you resonate with, that you aspire to be like. You wish you had more of those characteristics, right? Or you wish you had a little bit more work ethic to do that, or you wish you had some of their privileges, or you wish you had something. Like basically it's aspirational. Like you aspire to be like, man, imagine the guest list that someone like Rich Roll has, or imagine the accomplishments that Messi or Ronaldo has made in sports and for their countries and on the world stage. And these could be either big time celebrities or just people in your own community or your neighbor or your parents, your family.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I look at my sister as a role model, my brother as a role model, my parents, my colleagues. Like, man, I wish I had a bit more of that, but I don't. And maybe I can aspire to do that. And so I think leading by positive example is something we've always done. And one might argue that, well, you could lead by negative example and still have success in politics or on social media. You can be a real, negative person on social media and amass a great following or whatever. But I would argue, I mean, is that a life well lived? Based on ethics or morality or happiness or fulfillment. You can achieve success through stomping on others and climbing your way to the top by stepping on necks and backs and all this stuff on your way. So success is, open to interpretation. Standard achievement, like I said, achieving political office or political success or achievement or whatever, or in business too, of course. It happens in business all the time. It's not always that nice guys or nice gals finish first. I mean, there's a lot of negative stuff there. But I'm talking about the people that we aspire to be like, especially in creative arts. That is because they led by positive example, not because they were this super negative person that attacked everyone and was unlikable. No, it's quite the opposite. We found something endearing about them, inspirational about them, motivational. And it made us want to, in a weird way, like make our own lives better. Like, man, I want some of that. And what that is often is just happiness. I want what I perceive them as experiencing, which is happiness and contentment and peace. And I want that. I think at the end of the day, that's really what we're all trying to do. And as I made a very clear point in the book that when you embrace effective altruism or effective vegan altruism, you're basically doing that. Like every single day, you are contributing to making someone else's life better. And in turn, that makes your life better. But that should never be the goal, to make your own, like to just be self-serving, right? I made that clear distinction in the book. It's simply a byproduct of it, right? The more you give to others, the more, like, even just little things. Like yesterday, I told you I got recognized at the gym by a number of people. That made my ego feel good, right? But what I felt even better about was how it made them feel. And I know how it made them feel because they've seen me as a role model, and they had the chance to meet me in person and get a photo together and all this kind of stuff. There was more enrichment probably on their end than my end, but I still got a whole lot of something out of it too, right? But and that's what it is to be an impactful vegan. You're saving animal lives, you're sparing animal lives, you're improving lives, you're allowing others to live and let live, and that naturally feels good. Even if you're not doing it for yourself, that's a simple byproduct of caring about others around you.
No, absolutely. I think, and that's the thing. Like, it's not expecting anything in return. Like, that's the thing. Like, we can do things for our own ego and to boost our own kind of self-worth and things like that. But just going out of your way to help somebody and not expect anything in return sometimes just brings you the most joy. I know I've done it in the past where I've helped somebody achieve something, and I haven't ever expected something in return, and it felt incredible. Like, it felt amazing because you helped somebody, and they've offered to help in return, but I don't want that. Like, I'd rather just kind of then I feel like it's an exchange. Whereas I was happy just kind of doing what I was doing without any thought on am I going to get something? Are you going to repay this? And that's what I love is the fact that you don't have to. You can just do things just for being nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And 2 points on that, just briefly, because I know I'm pretty long-winded. 2 points on that is that one, we're talking about helping animals. How is a pig or chicken or gonna repay you, right? Like, that's a moot point, to begin with. Like, we're not asking that the geese or the turkeys or the cows or the goats to like give us something back. Hey, I helped you. Now get your herd together, get your flock, and come and give me likes on Instagram. Like, it doesn't happen that way. But also the other thing, Callum, to really think about is that if you go into something like doing something nice that's designed, even if like you think it's altruistic, but in the back of your mind, you're just hoping for reciprocation, boy, are you going to be disappointed. It just doesn't work that way. You could do 90 good deeds, and only 10 of those people, will reciprocate or do it back. That's not why you do it. And you'll just be grossly disappointed all the time because that's not how everyone reacts, because then it is transactional. It is some sort of like, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, or vice versa, whatever. I think we have to be moved to want to make a difference. I even go out of my way to call it a moral obligation. Like, I have this very privileged perspective that I come from, a white male born in the United States of America, college educated parents, heterosexual, all these things that society says are in my favor and are in my favor in the way society works. I come from an incredible place of privilege, and I have a moral obligation to do something with that and to help not just animals, but to help people too, and to inspire others and give give tools and help people and animals live better lives. And I think that's part of being an effective altruist, is that you don't care if there's anything in return. That's not why you do. And I never even think about it. If I give money to someone who's struggling, or if I go help out this animal I can clearly see needs help right now, or when I donate money, or when I donate my time, or when I give something away, I'm never thinking of what do I get out of this, because that's not how an effective altruist moves throughout the world. That's not the way it works. And you don't just wait for the holidays or New Year or, some sort of special day to donate your time or energy or money or resources on one particular day. You look for opportunities like, man, there are animals suffering in this food system right now. I got to do something. There are people starving around the world. I got to do something. There's someone across the street who I know could use this more than I could. I got to do something. And anytime we have the opportunity to help others improve their lives, I think we should take that seriously and see how we can most effectively do that in ways that don't disrupt our own lives all that much. And that's what I think is really palatable about the Impactful Vegan. I'm not telling you to overhaul your entire life and live in poverty and misery because you gave everything away to help others. It's not about that, but it's about prioritizing. Do you need to take this action, or would it be more impactful in the world to take this other action, which might actually, in a roundabout way, make you feel a lot better at the same time?
I think as well, like for some people that really want to kind of, jump in and obviously help out as much as they can to animals, like what is a tangible solution for some people? For me, obviously anything I profit I make from my business, I donate a percentage of it to an animal sanctuary or something along the lines of that. But for other people, that's obviously that's going to be slightly harder. Luckily, I'm in a position that I can do that. Whereas for other people, that need like a tangible solution, even if it's just taking something off their plate or helping somebody take something off that plate, that obviously helps out in the animal world a bit more. But what's some tangible solutions that I think we can obviously allow people to kind of help towards the animal cause?
Yeah, I have a ton of them listed in the books. In the book, everything from writing letters to newspapers and magazines and websites to offering classes and workshops and 30-day challenges to donating plant-based foods to those who would otherwise not have access to it and would be eating animals instead. And this changes supply and demand and all of that, and helps even change nutritional habits for a lot of people. It's donating our time and resources in different ways. But also, there's a section in the book, it's one of my favorites. We start talking about our strong V. This for strong vegan. This is what strong V stands for. You've heard me say it already a little bit today in our conversation, but I'll go in order here. I've never messed it up yet, so hopefully I won't right now. It's using our skills, talents, resources, other strengths, network, generosity, and volunteering to help animals in the most effective ways. Well, Robert, what the heck do you mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is you said you donate a percentage of proceeds to animal sanctuaries. Well, I have a friend who is not in a financial position to do that, but he's got a lot of vegan muscle. So he donates his physical labor to go help on the farm at animal sanctuaries. He can carry hay bales and buckets of water and wheelbarrows that other people just wouldn't be able to do as well, because he has that particular skill and talent and physical strength, right? You can use your special skills and talents by answering this question. And I love asking this on stage when I speak all over the place. Every single weekend for the next 5 weeks, I'm on tour speaking on stage. It's a lot of fun. And I like to ask questions like, what are you great at? And how can you use what you are great at to help reduce animal suffering? So that could be anything from public speaking to grant writing to information technology, to web design, to photography, to welding, to carpentry, to any particular skill or talent. Like, what are you great at? And when you answer some of those questions, then look at animal suffering around you and say, how can I use what I'm best at to alleviate that? And that's something that I think will make a big dent in animal suffering. And I think you'll find that you can contribute in amazing ways. And so I don't want to just list, like everyone needs to go write letters to the editor. Well, what if you suck at writing? What if you're just terrible? You're not any good at writing. Maybe not the best use of your time. But what if you're really good at something else? Then use that particular talent you have to alleviate suffering where you see it.
I love that. Yeah, I think everybody has skills as much as they think they may not, that can obviously help towards the cause. Like whatever that is, even if it's like the tiniest thing that you don't think you're going to be great at, but obviously no one else has it, that's going to help in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. So like, I know I'm a really good writer. Like, I just know that. I'm not as good with speaking. I'm okay as a public speaker or as a podcast guest, but I'm a way better writer. I just know that about myself. And so I could create my own YouTube channel and create my own podcast or whatever, but I'm just not as good at doing that. And I'm a really good writer when I can just sit down with my thoughts for hours and hours of uninterrupted time. That's important. Uninterrupted focus and get in the flow and be creative. That's what I should spend my time doing. I'm also quite good at networking. I mean, it's almost obnoxious at this point, because I have all my photos with Rich Roll and Lewis Howes and Tabitha Brown and Alicia Silverstone and all these people. But I'm really good at that. I'm really good. I mean, you've seen the people that endorse the book, like the names on the back cover. I mean, it's A-list people in the vegan movement. It's unbelievable. But that's because that's what I'm really, really good at. And so that's what I should do more of. I'm also pretty good at using my fitness success to promote veganism. I have decent work ethic in the gym. I've got a decent fitness physique to help promote the lifestyle that way. That's something else for me to lean into. I'm terrible at things like debates. I'm just awful. I mean, I don't know if I could convince anybody to go vegan in a debate. That's not what I do. I'm terrible at debates, so I don't do that stuff. I'm no good at it. I'm not good at building things. Like if you needed me, let's say the weather's turning bad, you need me to build this chicken coop to keep chickens warm at night. Good luck. I'll hit my thumb with the hammer. Like, I'm terrible. I don't have a single tool. But I could very likely help raise the money to hire someone to do it. I can't do that myself. But if you're someone who can do that yourself, that's brilliant. Use those carpentry skills or home improvement skills to do all kinds of great work to help animals. I can't do that. And so I think, and I hope you would agree, that I provide a lot of examples in the book that will appeal to a wide range of readers. Like, we're like, oh yeah, that totally resonates with me. Like, I'm more that person than this person, right? I can do more of that, but not this. Like, and I give those stories where I don't have a lot of money. I wish I did. I don't. But I'm really good at recruiting donations of products and money, which then I allocate to and retarget and redistribute to the most effective animal charities in the world. And I'm really good at that. I just haven't figured out how to make a lot of my own money. But I'm really good at distributing other people's money and other people's products. You should see my basement right now. Thousands of products here. I write about that in the book. I as a marketer of plant-based products, I'm maybe as good as they come in the US as an individual. And so no exaggeration, I receive hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of donated plant-based products every year. I literally receive thousands just in the last couple of days, thousands of products. I work with over 150 companies because people see the value in my ability to market. I mean, I don't know if you can see a full screen. All these books behind me from these great authors. I'm promoting. I only see a little little screen. Sometimes I see a big screen, depending on the platform that I'm doing the podcast on, where you can see the whole shelf. All these other books from all these authors, they all get their promotion and attention, and sometimes I have products displayed. I'm really good at that. And so that's why I do it. I'm really good at getting people, especially omnivores, to try plant-based products and incorporate them into their lives for a long time, which takes animals out of the food chain for their dietary desires and needs and wants, because that's what I'm really good at. Even if it's not the most fun, like I write about that in the book too. You don't have to do the sexiest thing all the time. I mean, writing a book is rewarding, but it's very difficult. It's not like people see the result, right? People see the result of, wow, look, your book's in all these bookstores and all these, wow, look what Rich Roll said about you. And look what Tabitha Brown and Dan Bootner from the Blue Zones, look what he said about you. Yeah, they're great. But they may not know about the years of struggle that it is to write a book. It's not, the process is not sexy. I take photos sometimes of myself just exhausted. I just look like weak and exhausted. But that's because I sit down here in the basement for 12 hours a day, but I'm producing some of the best work on this subject that's ever been written. And I say that without ego. I just found out what I'm good at, and I went all in. Like, I know I'm good at it. And that's why I leave the other stuff to other people, like debates and podcasts and social media. I'm just not as good. I'm just not. I'm not fancy. I don't know technology very well. I barely know how to do podcasts, like as a guest. I barely know how to click the link and show up on time. And I know that about and that's true. And I know that about myself. And so I stick to what I know, which is writing powerful words on paper and distributed in print to bookstores around the world to get people to think differently about animals. And everyone has their strength, as you said, their talent, their skill, their voice, their power, their essence. And in my book, I give you a lot of food for thought for how to do that.
You really do. And I think as well, you just mentioned the, obviously you got so many different products and stuff being sent to you. And one way I loved was with the Vegan Strong team, giving these products a way to help, move animal products off the plate of, like, especially people in the fitness industry that are consuming a lot more than the average person as well. Just seeing that, and just seeing that you're able to help make slight swaps to people that wouldn't normally, go out and buy these products. You're just kind of being like, try this, and seeing if they can make that swap, even if it's something smaller.
Yeah. And you saw the numbers in that chapter too, right? It's significant. It's
the numbers were unreal.
Yeah, because we pass out 125,000 samples a year that are 1-to-1 exchange. We're doing plant-based protein drinks instead of animal-based protein drinks. We're doing plant-based jerky instead of animal-based jerky. Plant-based burgers instead of animal-based burgers. Plant-based protein bars instead of animal-based protein bars. It's a 1-to-1. So, and because it's a 99% non-vegan audience, and it's a fitness audience who loves eating animals. They love animal protein. As many chickens, egg whites, fish, cows, turkeys, whey, casein protein, as much as they can get of it, they'll eat it. But through our leading by example, as champion vegan athletes, not just distributing the products, but leading with muscle and showing them the efficacy of it, we're able to be very persuasive and convincing and also distributing products in that volume for people who we know because they tell us. We've been on tour for years and years and years. And sometimes we'll see some people come to the same show in Los Angeles or Ohio or Las Vegas or Orlando year after year. And they'll tell us like, yeah, because of you guys, now like all I do is plant-based protein. Or yeah, you guys turned me on to plant-based meat. I didn't know that existed. And now like that's what we eat in our household. And I even have like big, I mean, I'm talking like no judgment, but like big burly steroid using guys that I think they're going to come like make fun of us. And they're like, hey guys, just wanted to tell you, you know, I got a daughter or a son who's vegan and I'm there to support him. So I'm doing it too. And it's like, man, this is really cool that you don't expect that sometimes, especially like in the Midwest flyover states in the United States, in the heartland, in agriculture country. And you get these big, you know, good old boys, kind of like farm guys, like, yeah, you know, I got a son who's vegan and daughter who's vegan. So I'm doing it with them to support them. And I'm still be able to, you know, maintain all my muscle. And it's like, man, like that is so freaking cool. And, you know, we're very effective. And that's what this is all about. It's about reaching people who can create the most change, people who are the most open to this lifestyle, people who can benefit from it the most, and people who can also take it and influence their friends and family and audience in ways that reduce animal consumption and animal suffering globally, which is ultimately what we're all about.
Absolutely. That's incredible that you have these people there. Like, as you said, obviously the big bodybuilding guys that you normally wouldn't think, they're going to be, that probably won't like take any notice of this plant protein. However, they're doing it as well. And it's nice to see this giant shift happening because like, if you look back, 10 years ago as such, this wouldn't be such a big thing, but now that it's slowly developing and you're getting people from all walks of life trying these new things. Like I spoke to a few people in the last few weeks that used to grow up on farms as well, and like they're the last people you expect to go vegan. Like, and there's so many of you that have grown up in that farm life and have converted over that time.
Yeah, and I think part of that, I was just saying this to someone like literally yesterday or the day before when I was at that vegan conference in Los Angeles, like 2 days ago, that, you know, growing up on a farm, you're only going in three directions. You're either going to become a farmer yourself, which is what my brother did. You're going to stray from that and do something totally opposite, like become vegan or vegetarian. Or you're going to be just a typical person in society who doesn't do any, it's just kind of normal. It doesn't, you know, doesn't live the farming life, doesn't go off and be vegan or vegetarian and rebel, but just lives the typical human experience. And so it was really just a 1 in 3 chance, you know, like that. Although the last one there is the biggest. Most people just go have a normal human existence. Farmers are fewer and farther between these days, and vegans are obviously a very small minority of the population. And so, yeah, most people just go through life as the typical human experience without drawing many lines in the sand or taking any moral perspectives regarding what they decide to contribute to as far as suffering or what they decide to eat. And so I think farming, growing up on a farm, is what contributed to me becoming vegan. I mean, I know so. And so I know you said it seems like they're the least likely to become vegan because they're out there raising animals. But actually, it's through that experience that brought me to veganism, through seeing animals as individuals and like being really sad when I would go sell my friend in the auction to be turned into food. Like, man, that wasn't very nice of me, you know? And yet there's that other group like my brother who is a cattle farmer, raises animals, sells them, doesn't think twice about it. Following his roots, you know, we grew up in that environment, farming environment. It's normal life for him. But I do think you'll probably come across more and more people who grew up on a farm, if there's even farms that exist anymore. It's all these industrialized, you know, factory farms and feedlots and stuff. Not a lot of small farms anymore, but I think you will come across more people who became vegan because they were involved in some sort of farming, at least animal agriculture farming, I should say, for very compelling reasons why, which I just outlined.
But yeah, I spoke to Ashley Kitchens a few days ago but she also grew up on an Angus cattle farm and became a plant-based dietitian, which incredible. But yeah, and there's someone in the UK as well that grew up on a dairy farm, and they've gone completely vegan as well. And it's just a beautiful thing to see that giant leap in a completely other direction. And it is due to the fact that you obviously have grown up with these animals. You know they all have personalities. You know how they obviously they are they're sentient beings with their own feelings and personalities, and the fact that you've taken that into consideration and just taken the the leap to be like, you know what, we're not going to consume you anymore. It's just a beautiful thing to see, and I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's hope we get more. More people just questioning their value system, changing their morals, beliefs, ideas, changing their food preferences, and we absolutely can have a more compassionate world. It's a long road to a mostly vegan future. It's a very long road, and it's not going to be easy. But I think if we embrace the ideas in the Impactful Vegan, which again are not my ideas. I mean, I interviewed like 40 people for the book. This is not just my ideas. I think if we embrace the strategies outlined in the Impactful Vegan, we can get a whole lot closer to more of a vegan future. And I, for one, am excited about it. And I think you have to be optimistic, or else it's very challenging to move forward if you don't have optimism. So yeah, we got to keep on keeping on.
Absolutely. Robert, it's always a pleasure talking to you, and I appreciate you a lot. However, before we do wrap this up, is this your last book, or is there going to be more books?
There's never a last book. I already started writing a new one. I don't know if I should reveal too much about it.
That's what we said last time.
Is that what I said last time? Okay. Well,
it was. And 2 years later, you're here, so I'll see you in 2026.
Okay. Well, I'll give you a hint. So, my new book is even more different from the leap that I took from the plant-based athlete to the Impactful Vegan. It is unbelievably different. So, drum roll. My new book is about hustle culture, and primarily American hustle culture. And so, and my experiences with workaholism, and it's going to follow the same nature that I did with the plant-based athlete, interviewing 60 of the world's greatest plant-based athletes, the Impactful Vegan, interviewing 30 or 40 of the most impactful vegans in the world. I'm going to be interviewing lots and lots of people about their globally, worldwide, about their value systems and their time spent on Earth. And for the spoiler alert, if you're wondering or confused by it, my perspective is anti-hustle culture. So I'll be embracing more leisure time, more family time, more priorities in helping others, rather than just working every single minute of the day to climb and seek validation and significance, and to be busy every waking moment and justify all these different actions that I'm too busy to talk to my mother. I'm too busy to talk to my niece and nephew or to play with them. I'm too busy to listen to my wife when she has conversations she wants to have. These are things that not only have I experienced for decades, and I regret a lot of things because I was too busy working and suffered from deep workaholism. But the psychology of all of it, where everyone thinks they're the next Michael Jordan or Beyonce or Taylor Swift or Jeff Bezos or whatever. And there's hundreds of millions of dreams that are getting shattered all the time because people think they're going to be something that they're just not. And then the society puts this pressure on you that you have to achieve X, Y, and Z in order to be relevant or to be appreciated or to be valued or whatever. And then we also live in a society that if you're not working every single minute of the day, that you're somehow lazy or something like that. And therefore we're not spending quality time with our families, our pets, leisure time, being, reflective and introspective, and doing more things that are good for our heart and for our soul, because we bought into this system that we have to either try to impress other people or try to build up our own ego or try to make ourselves feel worthy or feel that we're enough. And I think it's devastating. And I won't tell you, I have a great book title and an even better subtitle. It's brilliant. It's just, I've shared it with just a few people and everyone just says, "Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant." They just love it. I'm very excited about it because I think it's timely, especially in the United States. I think it's what's needed. I think we need to change our perspective on our work-life balance or our relationship with workaholism and striving and trying to be over achievers for very materialistic and ego-driven reasons. And also it's a kind of a critique of current society, at least in the United States, where you have to work 1, 2, or 3 jobs just to afford to live for many people. And that's problematic in our system as well. And we can do other things to alleviate some of that. I think some of those are easy solutions, like, moving back in with family, or not buying all these expensive cars or jewelry or houses or other things, be more practical and pragmatic and resourceful and more community oriented and more family oriented and all of that. And it comes from a lot of my own experiences, observations, and also listening to perhaps far too many hours of psychology podcasts to realize that hustle culture is destroying the American dream. And I'm trying to help change that. And I think I'm in a pretty good position to do that because I can think of very few people who worked more hours, than I did for a 20-year period, where I would just brag about never sleeping and drinking 6 energy drinks a day and addicted to caffeine and all these things and skipping out on family events or parties or significant things just so I could just work myself into the ground. You can tell I'm a little bit passionate about it. And it is such a deviation from my other books. Nothing to do with veganism, nothing to do with plant-based diet, nothing to do with health. Well, actually a lot to do with health and wellness, but nothing to do with the typical topics I've talked about. And it's a way for me to branch out as an author and write about something that I think is fundamentally important, not just for, American society, but I think for a lot of societies that suffer from workaholism and aspects of, I don't want to just say capitalism without too much context, but I think people who suffer from the current environment that we're in, that makes it so difficult to live like a life well lived. And so I'm trying to change some of that in the way we assess our own priorities. And in doing so, I'm going to write that book at my own pace without stressful deadlines, without crazy expectations for a book launch and all the things that come with it that make stress and anxiety soar through the roof with projects like this. And so it's going to be true. Like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to write that book in the style that the book is preaching and describing to the general public, to adopt some of those approaches to life. And I think it's timely, and I think readers will find a lot more happiness and fulfillment in life when they can separate themselves from work a little bit more and embrace hobbies and leisure time and enjoyment and not feel guilty in doing so, and still live a very comfortable life and feel like they're also able to contribute to the world around them in positive ways. And that's what I'm excited about. So you get to hear about it first. And I'm That's why I can't wait till this thing hits stores next month so I can move on to the next one. I want to get writing. I'm doing so much marketing. I can't write the next one yet. I've already started, but I want to get back to it. But I got another month and a half or 6 months, once it's actually out, then you got to do all the tours too. So we all find some.
I can't wait for it.
What's that?
I can't wait for it when it does come.
Oh, it's going to be good. I mean, you saw how good this one is. This new book, The Impactful Vegan, is really, really good. And the next one, who knows? And who knows what the world will be like in 2 or 3 years when that book comes out. But hopefully it's still timely and helps people identify some new priorities in their life and just live a more fulfilling life, which maybe will lead them back to being more altruistic and more generous and more open-hearted to help others as well, which could tie in nicely to my previous books.
So just before I let you go, where can we find you, for one? And most importantly, where can we go to get your new book?
Yeah. First of all, I was pausing because my answer is different now than it will be. Like I'm tempted to say, like, you won't be able to find me in a couple of years because I'll be spending time with family and friends and with my pets and doing, vacations and exotic stuff to like explore the world rather than just be stuck in a basement all day for 12 hours a day like I do right now. So you won't be able to find me in a couple of years. I probably won't even be using social media because I won't care about it. I won't have the desire for the ego and for all that. Yet I'll still be getting a message out there because I'll be focusing on my craft, which is writing, and that will naturally be spread by other people, podcasters, influencers, whatever. But I think what you're really asking is where people can find me right now, which is just my name, Robert Cheeke with an E on the end. You can find me on social media for now, at least. You could go to impactfulvegan.com, which is where you can download a totally free sample of the introduction and chapter 1 from the Impactful Vegans. You can just see a 31-page PDF and see if this is a book that's for you. And my hope is that you'll really enjoy it and want to order the book. And of course, on impactfulvegan.com, we have opportunities where you can learn more about the book. You can get pre-order bonuses. They're all digital. So regardless of where you live in the world, you can pre-order and receive a bunch of digital bonuses, which include 3 of my previous books, totally for free, the digital version of them, plus a bunch of other people's books, cookbooks and recipe books and workshops and courses from my colleagues. So, and you can find the book in store shelves June 25th throughout the United States and Canada, and hopefully in some other areas after that, which will depend on how well the book does. So you can find me online for now, but in a couple of years, when I'm out there talking about hustle culture, you won't even see me promoting the books. I'll be disappeared.
I love that.
I'll be happily disappeared. I'll be like content. I'll be like in a period like I know my books are still out there. I know I'm making an impact. I don't need to feel guilty about not working 24 hours a day to make an impact, but I'll be like living an enriched life, even if I'm kind of away from the social media spotlight for a while. That's the goal. That's the dream.
I love that dream. I love that dream. Well, Robert, I appreciate you as always. Very grateful for you. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely, Callum. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to come back again, and I'd love to chat with you about the next book too. Yeah. Whenever that is.
Can't wait. I feel like I can speak to you for years, so I look forward to it.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Appreciate your support. Appreciate your enthusiasm. Appreciate your like your joy for the book. That's and how much you like it. And I'm just grateful for that kind of sincere support. And I also want to just take a quick moment to acknowledge you and thank you for all you're doing to help others, to help reduce animal suffering, to help amplify veganism, to help with positivity and enthusiasm, and to get people around you to care, like to just care a little bit more and allow others to live more enjoyable lives. And you do a great job at that. And I appreciate what you do, and I'm grateful for what you do. And so I want to thank you too.
Oh, thank you. I'm blushing now.
No, I think you're fantastic, and I've always appreciated your demeanor and your friendliness and your warmth and your enthusiasm and your joy for what you're doing. I think that's a cornerstone of leading by positive example. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you so much.